Hi, queens and gentlemen. Welcome back to M Queens. Always remember that your dreams are valid. In this crime series, I will discuss Private LaVena Johnson, who was 19. She was found dead on a military base in Iraq in July 2005. She was the first female soldier from Missouri to die in Iraq. The U.S. Department of Defense claims that she died as a result of a self-inflicted gunshot to the head with an M16 rifle. Amid confusion and the viewing of her body, her family decided to investigate, and what they found was quite shocking. So let's get right into it. After graduating from high school with honors in Missouri, LaVena Johnson enlisted in the U.S. Army. She wanted to serve her country. She was very patriotic and thought that joining the military was the best way to express that patriotism. LaVena Johnson was very intelligent and a talented violinist, but instead of going straight to college, she made other plans. She joined the Army, and her company commander described her as being clearly happy during her time of service. She cared about the U.S. Army and took pride in her job. On July 19, 2005, 8 days before her 20th birthday, the U.S. Department of Defense claims that Private LaVena Johnson killed herself. But the way that she supposedly ended her life is very puzzling. According to the autopsy report, she would have had to punch herself in the face hard enough to break her nose, knock her front teeth loose, and give herself 2 black eyes. She then would have had to mutilate her genital area and douche herself with an acid solution. She would have had to pour a combustible substance on herself and set it on fire. And finally, she would have had to shoot herself in the head directly after. Despite all of this trauma, she would have to manage to somehow drag herself into a tent, leaving a trail of blood along the way, and set the tent ablaze in an attempt to conceal the crimes against herself. Does this make any sense to you? Does it even sound plausible? It also made no sense to LaVena's father, Dr. John Johnson, when he was told that his daughter committed suicide. She was quite happy days before. In fact, she insisted that the family leave the Christmas tree bare so that she could decorate it when she came home. As they were informed of LaVena's death on their front doorstep, Dr. Johnson could barely maintain his composure. In the background, he could hear the wails of his wife after hearing the shocking news. Something was not right at all. Upon the return of her body, Dr. Johnson noticed immediately that LaVena's lip was torn and her nose was broken. He was also shocked to find that her gloves had been glued to her hands, and they did this in an effort to hide the burn marks. She had third-degree burns on her hands. Being in the Army before, Dr. Johnson recognized that the exit wound from the bullet could not have come from the weapon the military claimed LaVena used to take her life. Dr. Johnson soon realized that he had been lied to. He requested to have his own autopsy conducted to investigate the truth. The reality was that LaVena had been sexually assaulted, beaten, and murdered by someone on the military base in Balad, Iraq. Mr. Johnson reports that the Army concocted the story about LaVena taking her life, and they informed the family that she shot herself in the head in the barracks, but this was not true.
I had a brave young constituent by the name of Private LaVena Johnson, and sadly in July of 2005, at the age of 19, she became the first female soldier from Missouri to be killed in Iraq. Just like Corporal Tillman, Private Johnson was an exceptional young American. She was an honor student, a gifted musician, and very active in her church and community. And just like Corporal Tillman after 9/11, she was inspired to join the Army to help protect her country. For almost 2 years, Dr. and Mrs. Johnson have been trying to get to the truth about what happened to their daughter. Unfortunately, they have been met by a wall of disrespect, evasion, and failure, and a failure to provide them with the answers that the parents of any fallen soldier deserve. And I am thankful that this committee is taking action to get them the information they have questioned.
Under pressure from the congressman, the Army finally gave the Johnson family the CD that contained LaVena's file after withholding it for over 2 years. They immediately found horrific photographs from the autopsy on it, which showed the extent of LaVena's injuries. It proved that the black and white photos of LaVena's body that were originally sent had been doctored. There were also sketches of the crime scene on the CD that gave the family further information which contradicted the Army's statements. Dr. Johnson noticed his daughter's face was bruised and later found that plastic surgery had been performed on her face to conceal her broken nose. He also noticed that the bullet wound in her head looked too small to be from an M16 and that it was on the left side, although LaVena was right-handed. The military's response was that it was an exit wound from an M16, although two ballistic experts state that LaVena's exit wound is more consistent with a bullet wound from a 9mm pistol. The bullet that took LaVena's life was never found, and the military's own residue tests indicate that she may not have even handled the weapon that supposedly took her life. Dr. Johnson was deeply disturbed and troubled by the discrepancies in the Army's investigation versus what he saw for himself. Over the next few years, through the Freedom of Information Act, the Johnsons slowly began to obtain information about what had really happened to LaVena. Photos show, and I'm not going to show these photos because they're too graphic. Photos show that LaVena had bruises and scratches on the upper part of her torso. There were even teeth marks, and she appeared to have been badly beaten. Something that Dr. Johnson believed to be perhaps lye or some sort of acid had been poured on her vaginal area, most likely to destroy any DNA evidence from an assault. Dr. Johnson and his family attempted to recruit help from the mainstream media and was able to have CBS pay for the second autopsy. The autopsy found that LaVena's neck was broken, part of her tongue, vagina, and anus had been removed. The military autopsy does not even know any of this, nor were the Johnsons informed that parts of their daughter's body had been removed. This story is extremely shady, and it makes one think, would LaVena have enlisted in the Army if she had known that Veterans Administration statistics show that 1/3 of women who serve in the military are victims of sexual assault by a fellow soldier? Or if she had known about an emerging pattern of women soldiers were also victims of sexual assault before reportedly taking their own lives. The Johnson family had spent years working with forensic and legal specialists to prove their charge of murder. However, despite gaining the support and attention of U.S. Congress members, nothing has changed. There was an online petition on change.org demanding that the Department of Defense reopen LaVena's case and bring the perpetrator to justice, but it appears to have been closed. I'll leave a secondary link that I found below in the description box below. Please sign the petition. The thought of this incident happening to my own loved one is heart-wrenching. I can't imagine the pain of the family, especially her parents. LaVena had her whole life ahead of her and it was taken away so brutally, and the family doesn't even know what actually happened to LaVena. As someone who served in the military himself, her father must feel so betrayed and disappointed by the Army. It is my hope that this story will not only cause you to do your own investigation, but to also think twice. I send my condolences to the friends and family of LaVena Johnson. I hope that they will soon be able to find all the answers that they need and that justice will eventually be served. What are your thoughts on this story? Let's talk. Leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching M Queens. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you'll always be updated when we post. See you next time.